Hello and welcome. This is the Bits vs. Bytes podcast. I am your host, Ohad Gilad, and today my guest is Ohad Gilad. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, that's right.
He's one of the owners of Keadyn, and you're an investment company, if I can call it like that. I want to start off with a little bit about your background. That's always where I start off. So could you tell me a little bit about your background, but also how you started Keadyn?
Yeah. Well, already as a young kid, I loved gadgets. I always was busy with my Commodore 64.
A lot of people are saying the Commodore 64, actually.
Yeah, it's still in our office. I love it. And after my study here in Rotterdam, Erasmus University, I started with a family business, and that's a wholesale and consumer electronic manufacturer. And also there, we did a lot of pioneering in technologies, and we were one of the first. My parents already one of the first with a telex, and after it got more and more advanced, robotized even our own IT, and this is where I picked up the love for technology and for innovation. And so after we sold it, I could choose like, okay, what's now? What do I really love? What do I like? Where do I get my energy from? And then I realized, okay, I like actually to build and to see new innovation, build new companies. And then I also look back, and then it was, it's quite a big company in the end. We become slow. We have a lot of legacy, and the innovation starts to become slower. The whole culture is behind, and then you go, okay, maybe I should look for young companies, help them, and invest them and look for new technologies with potential companies.
Yeah, and that's how you actually came to start Keadyn as well, right?
Yeah, right. So I went looking, and then I met Martijn Don, which is my partner in Keadyn. And then I thought like, hey, okay, this is interesting. You already have some experiences with it. I have to learn. This is completely different from like a big company. And let's do it together. Let's go for it.
So you've always been on the kind of entrepreneurial side then, right? Because you're starting from that company that you were at first, and then is that also, did that come natural, or was it more of a progression that you made through the years?
No, that came very natural.
Yeah.
And I love to find new things and help build things, and that's what entrepreneurs do. And so investor also, being an investor was really focusing on the part like, hey, okay, but I don't want to just bring some money, and I really want to see how we can help to boost these companies so that our investment will also, quicker.
You will have a return,
better return, and it's more fun because otherwise it's like a bank, and that's what we typically don't like. But it was really a long time looking for a model. It's really hard as an investor, adding value and then making a model out of it. It's a hell of a job. We tried many models and we failed. Like a startup, we failed over and over.
So what did you settle on now? So what's kind of the model that you want to bring to the table?
Well, honestly, right now, there's two sides of that story, I think. One side, we figured out that as an investor, to add value, it's really high level. Of course, everybody can do that, but really more into the operational, into the company, and then asking money, it's hell with startups to make that clear, and it's a strange feeling. Nobody accepts it. It's not scalable. So we decided like, hey, okay, we are generalists, and we better pick some people out who can really specialist, who can really help on certain topics of the startup where they need help. And where they are outperform us, where they are much better than us, these specialists. So we decided to go for this model, and that works much better. It's easier to explain, and they have much more knowledge, and they guide the startups for a period of time until they are at a certain level. And this way they can really help to boost these companies.
Yeah, because a lot of people think when they talk about an investor, they just think about the money, right? But I think that for a startup to succeed, it's not just money, right? It's the kind of the extra, the kind of specialties and knowing how to do certain stuff, that's actually going to make it a success, and not only the money, right?
Yeah, true. No, that is, and that's why we also really like. I think in a later phase, it's less important, but especially in the early phase, it's very valuable to have strategical investors who really understand the business, who have a network, who have the experience. They don't have the experience often of the startup and how to build a startup, but they do have a lot of other experience. And if you bring these two things together, you get a lot of power out of it.
Yeah. So what type of companies do you invest in? What kind of stage are they in? Is it always kind of the startup phase, or do you also look at maybe startups that are a little bit further out? So what do you look at?
Yeah, they need to have some turnover, some validation that their business model, that their product is working, that there is a request for it.
So you're not in the early seed stage investment.
That has to be some proof of traction, that's often still called where we step in. It's still early stage, and often they still have to do some pivots to find the really right model to make it scalable.
Yeah.
They're just on the edge of really boosting it in a scalable business model, and still pivoting.
And are they mostly like technology startups, or what do you look at?
So it's e-commerce companies, marketing companies, and real estate. We did some fintech as well, but fintech, we've found out that it's really quite hard. So for us, as for startups, you need long time. There's a lot of legislation. There's a lot of difficulties to really make a product scalable. And we decided to get out of this market.
Yeah, because it takes a long time to get something started. That's the problem. Yeah. Or maybe not to get something started, but to actually go through the motions of going through that legislation and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you need a lot of time, energy and money to go through it. And especially if you then also focus like a B2C market, then it becomes even more really very expensive.
Yeah, so what I would like to talk about as well is that when you're doing investments, it's tricky, right? You can look at all the things that the company is doing at the moment, and if they have a turnaround and stuff like that. But I think it's really tricky. I'm not an investor, but I can imagine that it's really tricky to pick a business, right? To know what kind of startup you want to invest in. So how do you do that? So what are kind of the things you look at, as apart from of course the financial side? But what do you look at when investing?
Well, first of all, we look at the industries that we understand, where we can also add value from our network. And it's easier to focus then on several industries where you have a good network, you understand, and then you know what you talk about. That helps. And then second, for us, it's really the most important part is the team. And again, especially in the early phase, when you don't have all the traction and you don't have big teams like 20 people, you have to do it with a small team. It's all about the founding team and how good they are, how the background is, what kind of experience, how they work together, how complete is the team, how is the dynamic. Mm-hmm. And so this is for us the most important part.
Is there one single thing that you would single out that usually sways you to invest in a particular team, for example, or a founding team? Is there something that stands out that when you see that you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna invest in these guys?
Yeah, so it's the team composition. We also really we hooked on because we said we always say team is most important, but how do you do this? How do you measure this? How do you how do you know? So for this also we took a specialist, Paul Musters from Fortify, and he built a really psychological model combined with his own model also with skill sets, and really mapping the whole team into how does the team look like? Where are the strong points, weak points, and where are the gaps in the team? Really? And this way we get a really good picture of how the team is, the existing team is, and if it needs more. And we like it. It gives us the right insights. And the nice thing is also the startups, they love it. They are really happy with these insights, and they love to work on it to build a better team.
Because they know then, because usually it's hard for you to look at yourself as a person and to know, okay, I need to improve this, right? That's the tricky part. I think that insight into knowing what the team is like and what you kind of missing at the moment, I think that's not just only for an investment company, but also for the team. Really important to know, right? I mean, that's maybe where you can fail, even if you don't address those kind of things that you have in your team.
Exactly. And then to come back, where do you look at after this? We discussed this, and then you feel the energy in the team. You feel and then it's either it's an energy drainer or a gainer, and
So energy is an important factor here. Then
it is, So once you get a good discussion and you see like, hey, okay, they understand it, and they have a lot of passion for what they do. They work together. It's a real good team. So not only like, hey, on paper, but also in real life, that you can see like, hey, okay, they are working really well together, and they know each other for a long time. I found it also really important that they know where they start. It will be ups and downs, and then it's good to know each other, that you don't get a team crash.
Is that also because your partner which you work with, is that also a factor? Of course, I think it's a factor that you started kind of an investment company together. You've known each other for a long time then, you're right?
Well,
or not?
Good question. When we started, I think we knew each other for like 1 year, so not that long. So it was really a roller coaster, and with ups and downs, and I definitely think that it would have been better if we knew each other longer. But we got to find to learn each other really well, and learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and see who is good in what, and it's a good process. But,
I mean, maybe it's an advantage, of course, to know each other longer. But the thing is that I think if you're both in a kind of an open mindset where you can say to each other like, okay, I don't like this about you, or I don't like this about you, it would help, right? I mean,
we're fortunate to have a good click straight away, to move on many of these topics.
So I would like to talk to you about something else about the investors and what they kind of face. Is that what I've noticed is there is also some kind of it's kind of a negative feeling people get with investors for some reason. I don't know why, but in some cases they have people that work in a company. They have a feeling that when an investor comes in, it's usually a bad thing, even though they bring in money or expertise or whatever. So how do you of course have a different view on how you want to kind of grow a startup and want to grow a company. How do you look at that kind of do you see that as well? Let me put it like that. Do you see that as well, that kind of negative aspect to being an investor?
Yeah, of course, after a while they know you, and it's different. But I see what you mean, and I think also, of course, if you say 99 after 100 times you say no, you don't become very popular. So this is also a thing. But no, they do have a different mindset. But I think there is a new generation of investors also growing up more. How do you say it? Talking in different ways with startups, being active in the ecosystem, really helping companies also. Not only if like, hey, okay, this is an interesting business case, but I like these guys. I think I can help them. You're there. I say there is a change in there in many investors.
I think that's of course a better business model for an investor as well. I think that not just to put money in it and forget about it, right? But really help those kind of companies grow and get them to a point that you want to have them actually.
Yeah, but also when you don't invest, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So also when you don't invest and you think, hey, I can help these people. They're nice people. I like what they do. I can link them up with a few. And you never know how it comes back. How it will come back to you.
It maybe doesn't. it doesn't take long, or it doesn't take much of your time to kind of help someone, right?
Exactly.
And help them along the way. And as you said, maybe it will come back in some kind of detour, but
or it doesn't, and then it's also fine.
It's fine,
At least you helped out, and you create some opportunities and you help some people. It's nice to do, I think. So I think that's also a difference with many more traditional VCs.
Yeah, so I would like to start to talk about one of the businesses you're in right now, which is WeTechRotterdam. I think it's a really interesting case. But maybe you can tell a little bit about what you want to kind of achieve with WeTechRotterdam.
Yeah, I think the easiest is go one step before that.
Yeah,
we found that. Or even let me take you 2 steps back.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I mean, we have the time.
Yeah, you asked about the investor model and how our business model evolved. And, well, we figured out, like I told you, like a specialist can better help these companies, better help the startups. That actually, of course, we found that works very well. But that puts us back again in the more investor seat. So we went further looking like, okay, then how do we do the things that we love? Okay, then we start being more an entrepreneur again, kickstarting our own companies and funding our own companies. So more like a venture builder. So Keadyn is now more also a venture builder instead of only an investor. Where we build our own companies. And one of the things we did is 42 Workspace. And 42 Workspace is the tech hub for all the Rotterdam region. That's where we curate companies who only work in the tech and who want to be together. We are straight at the Witstraat, where it's a very lovely place, a lot of buzz. And so we did this because we missed a place for tech startups to come together, really focused on tech entrepreneurs coming together and having our own awesome office with great people and great events and nice parties. So we did this. Now it's about 2 years. We are now full with really amazing tech companies. Really serious tech companies. Last year they raised 12.5 million.
Okay.
It's by the market validated that these are really serious tech companies and doing very well, growing very rapidly. But we realized also, like, hey, okay, if we really want to make more impact, and we need to be more than a single hub, a single tech hub. We need to work together with the government, with the education, with the schools, with investors, with the bigger tech companies in the region, and with other hubs as well, innovation hubs in the city. For this reason, we started WeTechRotterdam. We saw that there isn't something like this. There isn't an organization that really overarches all these aspects that I just named and brings all together like a master plan. Like, hey, okay, what are the biggest challenges in the city for tech companies, and to work on this? And,
Is it like an accelerator? Like you have like all these kind of accelerator programs, like what they do with Y Combinator and all those kind of. Is it like that, or is it more like
facilitator?
It's more
a facilitator, and bringing all the parties together, bringing all the things that are already out there together. Try to make some sense out of it and get people together to have more power together instead of working everybody individual on these topics.
Yeah. So how does for example, if I start a startup or whatever, do you like have to apply for that, or how does that work? So how do you kind of?
So it's a foundation, and we mainly do a lot of research till so far, and now we need some action we first needed to figure out where are we now, nobody had a clue, like, hey, okay, how many tech startups are there in the city, what do they do, what kind of industry, how fast are they growing, and where are they located? So we created a map in a database, everything behind it to map all these companies. And now we know that, we start to dig deeper, like, hey, okay, what are the main topics? What are the biggest challenges of these companies? How can we have so that we know what the challenges are, and then we know, okay, where are we now? What are the challenges? How can we work on these challenges?
Yeah.
And what will happen if we do these researches next year? Did it help a lot?
Yeah, that's interesting. It segues good into the next question I had as well, is that there are a lot of startups in Rotterdam. I mean, I do have a feeling that it's, and we talked about that a little bit earlier as well, is that I do feel like it's concentrated a lot around Amsterdam at the moment, for all kinds of reasons. You mentioned before we started recording that it's also because of a lot of investors that are there. I was wondering, how do you view that kind of startup culture in Rotterdam at the moment? Because from an outsider's perspective, I don't see a lot of it. I mean, there are a lot of cool companies within Rotterdam. I mean, Coolblue, which is one of the guests I had on the podcast as well. But there is a lot of companies that maybe people don't know or are still starting up. So how do you view that? How do you see that culture at the moment? How is that evolving? Is there kind of a boom coming, or what do you see?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a boom coming. The nice thing is, indeed, like you mentioned, there are already here quite some big tech successes, like Mendix, like Coolblue, HelloPrint, Housing Anywhere also doing nice. SecureLink. There's last week there was exit here of i3D.
Yep.
Sold to Ubisoft. Amazing, many people maybe don't know about this, but these are really amazing steps in for tech companies. These are big things, and I think there's a lot happening. We see that now. All the innovation hubs, they are also willing to work together, and the government is really willing to work together. The tech companies are willing to share and to work together. So there is a lot of positive energy, and now we need to make like a master plan. And we discussed this also with the local government here. And one of the biggest conclusions, like two, I think, of the main conclusions, there is a talent gap, but that's everywhere, I think, in the world, especially for tech talent. There's a huge gap, and we need to work on that so that the companies can grow. But the main thing is what came out also is that there is a lot happening already in Rotterdam, but we are just very bad in talking about it, shouting out about it.
They're better in Amsterdam with that.
Yeah, definitely. So we just need to brag about Rotterdam and make it happen.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't look at it that way, but that is kind of a cultural thing within. A lot of people say that kind of people in Rotterdam are. Not more quiet about it, what they're doing, but they don't like to brag, right? They just want to work and get things done. And and some people say in Amsterdam it's the other way around. But I mean, it does show why I think that a lot of Amsterdam startups are actually getting better and better, and where Rotterdam startups are a little bit less and less, or they don't like to brag about it, so maybe people don't know about them as fast as an Amsterdam startup, for example.
Yeah.
So
very.
I think that's correct, right?
Yeah, but it's also something we need to work on, because it works. It works to talk about it. It works that people know about it. And actually, one of the best examples is like. We know how to do it because we did very well now as Rotterdam with the city marketing. But that's more for the tourism and for also for companies, attracting companies, but attracting people to live here. It's amazing how Rotterdam is putting itself, like from the time that I studied, it was mentioned in the Lonely Planet, like Rotterdam is a city of concrete you want to skip. Yeah, that's it. One line. Yeah,
and now it's kind of the hippest city in Europe. Or something.
Definitely. So also the city, of course, has changed, but that's the nice thing. There is a lot of dynamics and there's a lot happening, and an amazing speed. And now we need to do it also for more like the tech startups and companies and the whole startup culture to brag about it and show them what is happening here. We got to have an amazing port to innovate, and there's so many opportunities here in the city.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's from as I said, I've lived in my whole life in Rotterdam, basically all my life. So I understand what you're saying. It has changed a lot. It's become more international in a sense. I think that's also something that I've noticed is that with all those tourists coming in, and it's getting more international. And I think that will also help kind of accelerate the kind of startup culture that you have.
Yeah, the talent, the international talent, it's amazing.
Exactly.
Erasmus is now
the
producing,
university,
really great people.
And what I want to get back to a little bit about the startups as well, which you invest in next to WeTechRotterdam. What kind of examples do you have of what startups struggle with in the kind of early stage? What do they really struggle with? Except, of course, they all want funding, and I mean,
except that's funding.
Yeah, except for funding. I mean, what are kind of the struggles that you see that a lot of startups don't get the first time? So, for example, they come to you and they say, "Okay, I want you to invest in me."
Well, indeed, it's getting the right people on the right place, get the team in the right way together that works. Of course, it's very tempting to choose all kind of friends that you really like and that understand you and that are exactly like you. But this is often like also
not the best strategy.
No, like then you have 3 or 4 of the same people who all know to do the same trick. So it's
doesn't help.
That's one of the really biggest challenges, to get the right team together, get it working, validate the business model again, and really getting short circles of validating your model and building onwards.
Yeah, and
expanding your model.
How do they kind of validate their things? Because I think it's the hard part is also, I think, that getting a focus, right? Getting the for example, if you're building a product, what are you actually going to build, right? And what's the thing you believe in? So do you see that as well? Do you see that kind of that kind of struggle as well? Like the beginning parts of, okay, what are we actually and who are we actually?
Definitely, that is one of the hardest part, and selling the product, going out of the market, it's a big problem. Really staying too long in the early stage, too long inside, working on the perfect product instead of talking to your customers, going out, testing it. That's still, it's in every book, startup book.
It is,
it tells you about it, what to do and how to do it, but it's still, once it comes in practice, it's still a big problem. And that's still where a lot of companies, they, take too long time to develop a product that really the market wants, instead of just keep on developing it inside to your thoughts.
Yeah, because they want to make it perfect, and that's
but according their thoughts, and instead of the customer.
Yeah, because the customer can maybe do with a lot less than what they actually already built, right?
Yeah, and that's also, you need a lot less to test your proposition. You don't need a whole technical already built product. But many companies still they come to I have to build it. I need 300,000 to build this platform, and then I can go to the market. I go, okay, please, go to the market. Just
before that,
sell it like you have it. Sell it to customers. See if they want to buy it, and then you tell them like, okay, but I need some time to develop it and build it, and I can do the first steps. This I can do for you, or it's a lot of manual work. It doesn't matter, but really go to your customers first before you start building. Invest like a long time and money into a project. Yeah,
I actually had one of the guests I had on the podcast. One of the first podcasts actually was Flow.ai. I don't know if you know them, but they kind of validated in a way that they just put up a landing page with kind of their idea and what they wanted to build. And they just said, okay, you can just sign up for the newsletter and we'll see. And exactly. That's actually how they started. They didn't even have a product. They were just like, okay, this is our idea. And if you like it, just leave your email and we'll get back to you. And they kind of found out that there is, in that way, they found out that there is a market for it, right? I think that was actually one of the things that I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, why would you already build a product and then find out that nobody wants your product?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's something that came up when we were talking about that, because it is really all about, do people even want it, right? You can build the best product ever, but if nobody wants it, well, you don't have anything. what would you want to do with it?
Yeah.
But,
it's still happening, strange, because there's so many books by now, so many smaller workshops, so many education about it. But it's a trap, and
what is one of the books you kind of recommend to maybe startups that you invest in? Is there some kind of one book that comes to your mind that you say, okay, you really should read that, just because it is just a good manual to do stuff?
The whole lean startup methodology is still leading right now. But I think what I see now, it's also more like the specialists that we hook on, and smaller workshops that are really efficient and on certain topics. So I don't believe in one size fits all. And that's the nice thing, startups, they figure out their own way, like, hey, okay, we take a few of this ingredients what really work for us. We focus on the metrics on this way from somebody, and they pick it all together. And we cannot also like steer them too much. That's the power of the startups, that they do things sometimes differently. And if they're all one size fits all in the same program, you see also you get all the same output and you get all the same things, and you lose innovation, you lose. So it's good to have some of the basics, but be critical and be creative with it, and use the
that's also the best way, I think, to look at these kind of books, is to get some inspiration from them. I think it was Mark Cuban that said once that he reads a lot of books, and he says, if I get one good idea from the book, it's already a plus for me. And I think that's great, because that's actually how you would look at the book, right? You don't need to say, okay, I'm just going to do this and this and this and this from that book, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't have to work in your case, right? So getting back to a startup that you are also in is actually Otrium. Maybe you can tell a little bit about that, because I just briefly saw it, and I want you to explain what the whole case is.
No, so Otrium in Amsterdam, they're based. They're growing very rapidly, and it's an awesome team. It's an amazing team, and they're doing a really great job. It was in the beginning we really thought like, hey, okay, have we already figured out that they are really an amazing team and how they work together? And it was the third startup already together, young entrepreneurs still, so they know each other. But the validation for us was quite high for where they were at that time, at that moment. We were like, oh, this is and the growth wasn't that rapidly. Like, okay, that explains the validation immediately. But we said like, hey, okay, we have to stick to our principles, winning teams, invest in winning teams. So we said, okay, we will do it anyway. And luckily, we were right.
Yeah. So what did they actually do? Yeah.
It's an online fashion outlet, but in a newer way. I think like Vente Privé. And it's all closed. Also, this one is closed because of they do big discounts. But the strong thing is they are very data focused. They know all the data, and they leave the brands in their power. So the brands can decide, and they get all the data back of what's moving, what's not moving, at what price rate, and they can also decide on it. So they stay more in control.
Okay.
And very scalable. So in the beginning, it didn't go that fast. It took a lot of time and to onboard new partners and new brands. And then they figured out, or we figured together out actually, like, hey, okay, it's nice to use everybody's own warehouse and let them stay like really in control and really do everything
doing
themselves.
the sanding and
But there is no interest and there's no focus anymore on like the slow movers on like things that are indeed like outlet ready for the outlet. So
sure.
That takes too much time. So then they pivot to a new model, and now they do much more services for the brands, and now it's an amazing speed. They hook on all the big brands, and the number of users, members is also really increasing at amazing speed.
Yeah.
So they perform really, they outperform continuously.
And what does it? So from a user's perspective, what do you can just buy clothes that you would buy at an outlet, for example?
Yeah.
That's the idea,
exactly.
right? Yeah. So what the big pivot here was that they took more control of the kind of logistics side. Is that the kind of the way it's now changing and speeding up? Is that true?
Well, with some of the brands, the outlets became so big that they lose like control, and then it's like special productions, it's a complete different game. And they figured out a new way where the brands that can stay in control, they can really push their their outlet overstock, and they do just an amazing game also in all the data and getting new members, in presenting it, the product. It's the complete game that they do very well.
And that's also, you mentioned it before. So what was the kind of the main reason for you to invest in it? Although you had your kind of doubts from kind of the validation part and stuff like that. What gave you like the breakthrough to still invest in it?
Yeah, so it's the background of them.
Yeah,
they knew each other a long time. Yeah. They have experience, and but also there were already a few strategical investors who wanted to do the same round, and from the industry, really, added value investors. So that's also important for us, and their business deck. It's just so good always. Every time there's no questions like you can ask. Everything is in it. So it's amazing. They got like
they thought about everything.
Yeah, and their metrics. It's that they're just really good in presenting and having all the metrics ready, like that you cannot get any question in.
Yeah, it does remind me sometimes of you have like the show, the Shark Tank show, right? The kind of investment. It was always funny to me is that. What they all gravitated to, like in the first few minutes after somebody pitched, they were all like, "Okay, what are the metrics, right? So what kind of skill can you get to this? What kind of colors can you do?" And it is a bit like that, right?
No.
I kind of like that. Is that that's kind of a scientific approach to looking at if you're going to if it's going to work out or not, right? And is that also what you kind of always want to do? Because sometimes I have a feeling that you can also take a chance based on your feeling, right? Is it what do you say? Kind of is it more based on data for you, or is it also some guys just the feeling you have about the company and stuff like that?
No, it's definitely a combination. And if the feeling is not good, we don't do it. If we don't have a good chemics with the people, it also has to be a good relation, and it needs to be fun. Work together, get energy out of it. Exactly, it has to be an energy gainer, and it only works when we work good together.
Yeah,
and, it's also feeling a part of still feeling.
Yeah, I talked about that with my previous guest from Dept as well, is that it is a bit like hiring someone, right? If you were going to hire someone, you want to also have that kind of chemistry and know that this person is going to bring that energy to the table that you need to get further, right? So I would like to look a little bit into the future. So it's really hard to do that. It's always hard to do that. But what do you think is going to change in the kind of way people are investing? We talked about it a little bit, the whole expertise part. Are there other things that you think they will change from an investor's perspective to invest in kind of startups and stuff like that?
Yes, I think especially in the Well, no, yeah, it will change. It will. I think there's many more investments possibilities. ICO is now, of course, it came up and it went down.
Not doing that again.
Yeah, well, but it's technique,
maybe it will be back.
It will be back. It will be back. It went way too fast, and the market, but it will come back, and it is a way. It is. It brings many new opportunities where you can have things good arranged and. But I think it will be a more hybrid model in the future, like indeed like angel syndicates also, more platform for angels to work together. Like if you look at AngelList in the US, it's amazing. They don't do only angel investments anymore because they have so many angels there. They do syndicates with really great lead investors, experienced great lead investors who tackle big rounds together. And exactly. There you see already a shift, and I think that will come also here. So right now there's really a second generation, I think, like tech entrepreneurs who sold their company and now want to invest in tech companies. They understand the business.
Happens a lot.
They have been there, and they have much more added value. So there's a new generation of investors coming, and they can do bigger rounds and have the knowledge about the business. But there is a lot of the investors investing in startups. It's still, there's a lot of knowledge gap there. How to do it? It's a big knowledge gap, and that's another of our ventures, Angel Academy, that we started. We founded it to educate angels. So how to invest, how to pick your startup, how to help them, how to close the deal. So all the parts. How we worked as a VC together with the whole team, we formed that into workshops to educate new angels. And actually, one of the goals is we just love the entrepreneurial phase of the being an investor, and that together that makes most sense in the angel phase where you can add value. And you see also that angels, they like to pick their own startup where they invest in, and they want to have a click with them. They want to help them. That's also what they like. So they don't want to just invest money. They also want to invest knowledge and their network and their energy into it. This only works if you can close the deal then yourself and understand the deal. This doesn't work if you invest in a fund, like a fund spreads it out over like 20 companies, and which is great. We learn the angels.
Spread the risk.
We learn the angels. Spread your risk. Don't do everything in one. Have a big portfolio. It's still high risk business where you're in. So you need to spread, but spread it in things that you like and understand, and you can help with, and form syndicates with other angels who are maybe better than you on other topics. So like you are very good in e-commerce, then take a financial guy next to you and help together to put your energy and guide these young startups often.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot to think about there, but what I would like to see, or what I would like to ask you as well, is that I think the old way of kind of investing was that, okay, I'm going to put money into it and I'm going to see if I get that return, right? And I think, as you said, the kind of newer generation is not in there just for the money, right? They're also in there to kind of make a company grow and be proud of that, right? They want to be proud that they helped to get into a later phase. Is that also something that you feel as well?
No, that is it. You get energy from working with these companies.
Yeah, sure.
You get really great energy out of seeing them grow, and of course there are also some fuck ups. It's part of the game, and then it still can give you energy how they work with it, how they still try to make it work, or it's part of the business. But
but you can learn from those failures as well, right? If there is a failure or whatever. So I would like to kind of wrap up with the last question. I always do this last question at the end. So what are you most proud of, actually, because we just talked about being proud of something, but what are you kind of most proud of since you started Keadyn? Hard question.
That is I think by now we did so many things that came out of Keadyn, and so just boosting the whole tech ecosystem forward with all the different, with Angel Academy, with 42 Workspace. So being more like, part of the drivers behind the tech ecosystem, and being rewarded for it, one of the 50 toekomstmakers or other things. That's really great. And, it's awesome to work with so many companies together. So I love the variation. Actually, I cannot focus.
Well, on the one hand, it's good, but I mean, as an investor, I mean, I think that's maybe a good trait, even to not focus on just one thing, right?
But like we did also 42 Workspace. We said like, okay, guys, we don't mind to work hard. We like to work, but if we work and work many hours, then let's do it in our own kick-ass office, in our own kick-ass tech hub. So that's what 42 Workspace now is. It's really an awesome place with great tech companies and great parties, as well as people who work hard. And I'm really proud of that, how we managed to do that.
Very cool, very cool. So how can people find you? So what's kind of the domain that they can find you on?
On LinkedIn, or Facebook as well. I connect with most people who are relevant in the tech industry. I like to connect to them and see if there is a possibility to help. And
some of the startups we mentioned, so WeTechRotterdam, is it WeTechRotterdam.com?
WeTechRotterdam.com. It's Keadyn.com, angelacademy.nl.
Sure.
and
Otrium.
And Otrium.com, I believe they have. And .nl, certainly they have. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Nice.
And 42workspace.com also.
Of course. there's a lot of investments you're in, but you can all, if people want to find you, I'll put your LinkedIn down with the post, so they can see all the kind of cool startups you were involved in. So I would like to thank you for coming. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I liked it.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for having me.
That was so I would like to say to the listeners as well, you can find Bits vs. Bytes on bitsvsbytes.com. We're on all major podcasting platforms, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all kinds of platforms. This is too much to name, but and also on social media, it's all Bits vs. Bytes on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I would like to thank you for listening, and until next time.